Most people only see Hollywood stars on screen. Frank Worth got to see them up close. Parties, premieres, at home and on movie sets. Photographer Frank Worth got past the facades and became a confidant and even a lover to some of Hollywood's icons.
The first time I met Jimmy Dean was in the parking lot at Schwab's drugstore in Hollywood. Everybody knows the famous Schwabadero. I then found out that he was an actor. And I didn't know too much about him then, but he was a nice guy, really a nice kid. He looked like not an out-of-work actor, but a struggling young kid trying to make his way in the business. And one day, I said to him, I thought I'd like to help people once in a while, if I can do something, as a cameraman for the movie magazines at the time. I said, gee, you know, I'm doing a layout, a movie star layout. And I said, why don't you come along with me and kind of get in the background, and when you see me, when I see that my camera is up, kind of sidle over and get in behind whatever star happens to be there, like it was Debbie Reynolds' layout. And he was very cutely and sheepishly, and just the way he said it just flipped me. He said, gee, Frank, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it, but I don't think that, thanks anyway. I don't think I'll do, no, thanks. Well, I was invited to East of Eden. I didn't know anything about it. I couldn't even remember the name of it, and I was a little late getting there. I missed all the credits on the East of Eden. It was down in front. Picture starts right after Kazan's credit. I saw just the director credit. And here comes Jimmy Dean. I said, oh my God, I said to myself, I said, great, he got himself a bit part. Well, 5 minutes later, I suddenly realized that he was the star. I said, oh, I was so mad, I couldn't get over it. The minute the picture finished, I ran to a phone. I called him up and said, you dirty, rotten fink. How could you do this to me? You're a star. In Marfa, Texas, on Giant, he was using a lariat. And I looked at it, and I said, oh boy, that's easy, anybody can do that. He's so sure, anybody can. Here, try it, Frank. So I took it and I made an ass of myself. I just didn't know how to do it. And everybody laughed. Said, oh, yeah. I said, do you know what he did? He took me after lunch into another room in this hotel where we had lunch for the break. He spent 35 minutes teaching me how to do it. We were an hour late getting back to the set, but he wouldn't leave until I finally learned how to do it. That's the kind of guy he was.
Frank bought himself a box brownie kit, and he made his first camera himself. He would photograph everything from the moggy on the street to all the neighbours, cars going past the house. He'd just photograph everything. Because of his interest in movies, he decided to go down to Grand Central Station and photograph stars when they came off the LA Express. But one of the people that were on that train, was Rudy Valley. And Frank Worth and Rudy got really friendly. And when Rudy went off to serve with the Coast Guard during the war, he said to Frank, look, you know, I've got a place to stay. You're going out to Hollywood. You've got this job with Associated Press. Go out there and stay in my house. So Frank, as an 18-year-old kid, was staying in the Hollywood Hills in Rudy Valley's house.
And through Rudy Valley and Edith, Frank was introduced to various people, stars, mainly at MGM and Warner Brothers, where Rudy was.
You know, he'd be at Rudy Valley's house, talk to the stars and say, look, I'm going to go and see you tomorrow. And they'd say, well, I'm making a picture, Frank. Yo, I'll come onto the set, you won't mind, will you? And that's how he started to get onto movie sets.
He was pushy, but he was a really likable guy. And these people liked his almost upfrontness and adopted him. And he became friends with all of these celebrities. The people who he was watching on the screen in New York, Brooklyn, as a child, became his friends. He knew through his photography he wielded power to these young hopefuls arriving at Union Station in Los Angeles. He would be able to say to them, I can make you, I can bring a portfolio of photographs together for you, which you can take to Columbia or Warner Brothers. And these girls, who were so absolutely desperate for fame, would almost do anything.
Jane Mansfield, who he discovered in a way, he put Jane in touch with a friend of his who got her into a movie called The Female Animal, and she had a role of Candy Price in the movie, and it was her biggest role. She made 1 or 2 bit parts. But she said to Frank, Frank, I've got nothing to offer you. And he just looked at her, and she knew that what she had to offer was her body. The actresses themselves, they found him very caring, very charming, almost like your big brother.
He was a confidant.
And he took incredible shots of Rita Hayworth, very suggestive shots. And, you know, you see her beckoning him with her finger. And you think, gosh, there's so much in that image. You know, there's so much behind those photos. You can tell there's a huge relationship there.
Frank Worth was chubby, quite short, and yet he was able to woo Ava Gardner and Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn said she was almost kidnapped by Frank, especially on the set of How to Marry a Millionaire. She said I had the dress. He said, come on, Marilyn, and they went out to Victorville near Palm Springs, and he did this whole photo shoot with her leaning against the car and looking very beautiful. He said, and that's when we really started having sex, both of us, you know, and it just grew from sex into a really warm, wonderful relationship.
I know that Marilyn was keen for Frank to join her in England for The Prince and the Showgirl. She had apprehensions at first about coming over to film it because of working with Laurence Olivier and Dame Sybil Thorndike. It's noted that Marilyn had a very hard time. Frank was busy working. He did get a job at one time with Teen Movie magazine, doing some photography for them, and it was his first real paid job. So he took that instead. And then I think the relationship between Marilyn and he began to fizzle out.
Because he was so close to these people and everyone trusted him, he never really made any money out of his work, because he said to publish his collection, even a 3 or 4 prints, would be, it would be like publicising your own family album. It'd be like having your family album plastered in every newspaper and magazine, and he thought of these people as family.
Frank just made enough money to live. He didn't think his work was of any value, of greatness at all. And yet, he was hoping, in a sense, that he would be remembered.